At the LGBTQ Rainbow Pride Art Show opening on June 10th, I met someone I hadn't seen in years. My homeroom teacher from my freshman year of high school, who had, in the time since I had seen her, written a book about her experience as a lesbian nun. It's an important experience to be highlighted in our community. Being a confidant for so many students over the years, she was sort of a mentor to the LGBTQ youth in our area. So I had to sit down with her to discuss those experiences. You're author of Nun Better.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, Sebastian.
And you used to teach at Delmar High School.
Yes.
From what time period was that?
25 years worth, and I retired in 2018.
Wow.
So lots of students.
Yeah, lots of students.
And staff that sort of meandered their way in and out as well.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved it. I loved teaching. I loved hanging out with high school kids.
That's great.
And I had you.
Yeah.
In which classes?
I was in homeroom. That was the only time I ever saw you. It was in homeroom.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, hopefully I was kind and nice to you.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I guess, how was your experience in the church? How did that relate to teaching in the schools? Did that affect your teaching style at all, or your interactions with LGBTQ youth?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of questions right there.
Yeah.
Well, I began my teaching career at my alma mater, which would be San Diego High School, which was a public school in San Diego. And I did that for a year. Then I joined the convent. And then when I joined the convent, I already had my teaching credential. And so the first year of formation, so to speak, they asked if I would teach at the Catholic school in L.A., right near LAX, St. Anastasia School. And so I taught PE, which was what I was trained for. So I taught PE first grade through 8th grade at St. Anastasia School. And so from public school to high school, my first 2 years of teaching, I had public school and high school. And then I was in the convent for 5.5 years. And in that 5.5 years, I taught full-time 2 years at St. Patrick's Catholic School in Pasco, Washington. And that was K through 6. I think that was K through 6. And again, I taught PE and I taught religion, of course. And so, and then from there, I moved to Aberdeen, Washington, and I worked for the health department and a nonprofit agency where I did health education for the county. So even though I didn't have a classroom and I didn't have a principal, I was in charge of community health, which I loved. And that's where I got really involved in HIV/AIDS education and prevention and sexual health prevention and education, as well as cessation and STDs and STIs and just all kinds of community health issues. And then when I left there and came here to Brookings with my sweetie Carol, we moved here together, which was our dream. Then I was able to be hired in Crescent City at Rural Human Services. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they're still around.
Street? Yep. And so I did the HIV/AIDS program there for 2 years. And then I was recruited to Del Norte High School by Principal Sherry Smith. I think probably before your time.
Before my time.
Yeah, I don't think you were even born yet, Sebastian.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So Sherry Smith recruited me to possibly coach and teach PE and health. And so that's what I did. And I just moved right into that element. And it was awesome. Like I said, I love teaching. And I think that's what my calling has always been, whether I'm in the convent as a nun or out of the convent as Miss Lindenmeyer or whatever people wanted to call me at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
LGBTQ wise, that's interesting because when I first started at Del Norte High School, nobody was out. It was very, very, very secretive, both students and staff. And then I had to pick and choose who I wanted to come out with in terms of would that affect my employment? Would that affect the relationships I had with teachers and with students? There's still quite a big stigma and a negative atmosphere about LGBTQ people back then. And so in the long run, I came out to a couple teachers, one being Sherry Smith's husband had a brother that had HIV/AIDS, and I knew of that via a support group. He has since passed away, but that was the link there. And so Sherry, as principal, knew that I think she knew that I was lesbian. I don't even know. It didn't come up. It didn't matter. She just knew I had the teaching credential. I had the background, and I was good at what I did.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the years, since there was such a stigma at the beginning, how did it feel noticing it start to kind of like come more into the forefront?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Yes, it did improve because as time went on, even Sherry's husband and Sherry were involved at the time of bringing the AIDS quilt, the real AIDS quilt. They had a panel that was brought to Del Norte High School and put up in the library. And for a 24-hour period, I think it was a 24-hour period because it involved, yes, there would be a student that was at the podium that was constantly reading the names of people that had died of HIV/AIDS. And so that was a big turning point for the school in terms of students feeling like, I have a voice. I can be different. I can come out. And it just started, the flavor of students started to change. And I didn't come out as a teacher, but they knew. It's like that gaydar went up, or there's something that happens that just, you tell me.
Yeah, I didn't ever notice it, but I was also like, so far back in the closet, I was underneath the Christmas decorations.
I love it. Yeah.
So it's like,
and I can relate to that. Yeah. And how come?
The climate at the school.
Right.
I was raised as a man, the young man, like, yes, you are this. You are, you got to be strong. You got to be quiet. You don't say anything. And so I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna say anything.
Right.
And I just did not say anything.
Right.
Pretty much the entire high school career.
Right.
Yep. I'm this dude.
Yeah. And I didn't come out and say that either. As a person, I didn't come out and do that. And so I think it was just the way that we were brought up and raised. And to me, it also meant it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because I came home to my sweetie pie, and I mean, we were together for 40 years. And so to us, it was like, this was our life. I didn't have to go explain to the world that, yes, I am a lesbian. Why do I need to do that when my life is beautiful and wonderful at home?
Yeah. I totally get that. Did you ever have any kids come to you with those kind of problems in your years?
Oh my gosh, yes, Sebastian. Oh my gosh, probably on a weekly or every 2-week basis, I would have somebody come to me and talk to me either about a friend that they had, which you never knew if that really meant a friend or if they were referring to themselves, or a sibling or a cousin or whatever. But yes. And it ranged for everything from it ranged from bisexual to trans to gay to lesbian to not sure, to just all kinds of questions, and especially, how do I protect myself if I want to have intercourse and I want to be involved? What do I do, Miss Lindenmeyer? What do I do? How do I get condoms? And at that time, I was all through my high school teaching career, and I say Kirk Burroughs and myself, since we did the health classes, we were not allowed to distribute condoms from our drawer, from anything. We could tell them where to go, and finally it got to be at the college that they could go over to the college. But teaching that was important because we needed to let them know that they could go to the grocery store. They could go to certain bathrooms in town that had the condom contain, what do you call those in the bathroom?
Yeah, dispensers.
Yeah. Dispensers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and some of the kids that came out to me, they had asked me, are you going to tell my parents? I said, nope, not at all. That's up to you when, where, and how you do that. I said, if it is life-threatening, then I have to, by law, report that. Or if there has been abuse, then I need to report that. As a teacher, I had to do that. But mostly they were concerned, are you going to keep your mouth shut, Miss Lindenmeyer? And I did. I honored that. And I didn't treat them any different than anybody else. And I hope that came through. Yeah. You knew me, so. Yeah.
I mean, when I was there, it seemed a lot of just everyone is equal in that classroom in that sense. It was, I didn't ever see it come up, but then again, it was homeroom and it was like half an hour.
Yeah. So. But you would also hear stuff around school if a teacher did something not appropriate or did something that was breaking confidence or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't ever hear of anything like that, but I'm sure I would have.
Yeah, for sure. And the kids that came out to me, and they were freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. I remember one time, Sebastian, oh my gosh, this just came to my mind. I'm in the big gym, and just the one bleacher was out, and I'm on the bleacher side near the boys' locker room. You can probably picture where that is, right near the drinking fountain. And I walk into the gym, and I see a senior there, and I don't know him personally. He's not in one of my class, but he's sitting there, and he's got his head in his hands and his elbows on his knees, and he's just sitting there. And I walk over, and I sit next to him, and I just sort of nudge him a little bit on his shoulder. Man, are you okay? And he barely looks up, and I can see that just tears are coming down his face. And I said, do you want to talk about it? And he said, yeah, I just got my results. I'm HIV positive. And it was like, oh, my heart just dropped. It brought me back to when I worked in Aberdeen, Washington, because one of my jobs in Aberdeen was the testing and counseling and giving people their results from their tests. And I just sat there with him, and together we both just cried. And then he finally spoke up a little bit, and he goes, I have a girlfriend. You know my girlfriend. She's in your class. And I said, have you told her? And he said, no, I don't know what to say. And so we had a little conversation about that. And he was so still fresh on accepting and hearing the news about himself. He didn't know what to do and how to do it. And so I said, I'm around if you want me or need me. And I could see he was starting to get a little fidgety. And so he stood up, and I stood up at the same time he stood up, and he says, I just have to go. I said, okay. I said, you know where I am. I'm here. And I said, I'm not telling anybody. And you know what? I never saw him again, Sebastian. I don't know if he checked out of the school, if he moved, and I never saw the girlfriend again. Isn't that really strange?
Yeah.
And in our small town, in our small community, you would think you'd run into him at Denny's or on the street, I mean, anywhere. Yeah. And I never saw him anywhere. So I don't know what ended up happening. I know he wasn't pulling my leg. I know he wasn't lying to me. It was too sincere, and he was in the moment. You know, I haven't thought of that story in a long time, Sebastian.
It's interesting.
Yeah. You know, and I guess that was part of my whole thing in health. Is you don't know at that time, especially, you don't know who has HIV or AIDS or herpes or whatever the disease might be. And what are you doing to make sure that you're safe and that person can be healthy? And that was a constant theme in my health classes. You probably remember when I would wear my bicycle helmet. Do you remember this?
No, I don't think I did. I was in Burroughs.
Oh, you were in Burroughs.
Yeah.
But even when I did the condom lesson, which is by law, state that we required to teach about the condoms and any from abstinence to precautions. And I would put on a bicycle helmet. And so I'd stand out in the hallway to greet students in the class, and I'd have my bicycle helmet on. And the juniors and seniors that had already had me, they go, oh, Lindenmeyer, you're talking about condoms today. And all the freshmen are looking at me like, what? How do you know that? She's got her protection on. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the kids that I was with, like in my class, definitely were like, Lindenmeyer's eccentric. This is gonna be interesting. But I'm like, that's great, you know?
Yeah.
There's that. I definitely was like, maybe I should have been in Lindenmeyer's.
Yeah. And Burroughs and I were so different, but I tell you, we both got the information, and however we did that. And he loves teaching as much as I love teaching, so it's just different styles. You gotta be you.
Yeah, he was definitely gruff.
Yeah,
his way, but I got the information.
Exactly. Yeah. And we all have to be us. You have to be you.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're a student, a teacher, whatever your job now, I look at you now and going, I'm so proud of you, Sebastian. I know, I'm so proud of you for doing this. Yeah.
Trying to think of something.
Yeah,
because like I guess there's a relation to the church and LGBTQ.
You want to get back to the church?
Yeah. I mean, that's extremely important, especially in our little town with there's 12 churches that I can count off the top of my head.
Right.
Over there.
Right.
And I don't know how many of them are accepting. I know one, at least.
Methodist.
And it's Methodist.
Yeah, and the safe space.
Yeah, and we work with the Methodists.
You work with the Methodists, yes. And I'm not so familiar with the Crescent City people churches as much as Brookings. I have been to the Catholic Church in Crescent City, and over the 31 years now, that 32, going on 32 years, that I've lived in this house here in Brookings, we'd go to church. Carol and I would go to church here. And a couple times we'd go to the Catholic Church in Crescent City. Mm-hmm. And I could see the change happening there. And actually, they went from more liberal to more conservative with their leadership and their thinking. And that's happening a lot in our world right now, where there's been a shift of people just really wanting to be more anti-gay, anti-pro-life. They're, they definitely don't want abortion, and they want laws about that. And that's different than me because I believe in personal choice, which is all related to the whole sexual thing. So what I wanted to get back at, churches.
Man.
Churches. It's so specific on who the pastor or the leader is, and then the flavor of that church. I look at Pastor Dana in Crescent City right now at the Methodist Church, and she is so open-armed and accepting of everybody and anybody, especially LGBTQ people. Just unbelievable. And it's wonderful that they do the safe space. Up here in Brookings, I think the only church that really puts out the effort to be welcoming is St. Timothy's, the Episcopal Church, which is now what I belong to. And the other churches are still really set in their own dogma and their teaching and their ways. And I was thinking today, I was a nun. Carol was a nun for a sister for 32 years. She was 32 years as a sister, a religious woman, and I for 5 years. And I kept thinking, why is it that so many people, when they hear about Nun Better, they're thinking a nun, and then they hear I'm gay? Is it they believe that nuns cannot be gay? Is it their opinion that priests, bishops, popes cannot be gay, that they have to be straight in order to have that position? I wonder if that's what's really bugging and irking them.
I think that might be part of it in the cultural zeitgeist of celibate, very cloistered away. You serve God, right. And that is your place. You don't need the carnal sins of the flesh, so to speak.
Right. But that goes back to celibacy versus the actual sexual orientation.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the celibacy part.
I think it might lead back to that, because the celibacy and the desire, I think, are grouped together. Like, if you're celibate, you can't have desire, which I don't think that's entirely accurate.
No.
Yeah, the human brain's complicated.
Yeah.
I
remember a joke. Can I tell a joke here? I may have to edit it out. Yeah. There's a joke, and I don't know where I heard it along the lines. But anyway, pretend you're seeing a video or a film of this, and you're in a convent scene, and you have the Mother Superior teaching the young sisters, the young novices, about sexuality and what they can and when they cannot do. And so she starts talking about masturbation. And so she says to them, okay, I'm going to give each one of you a water gun, a water pistol. And every time you have the urge and you want to have sex and you want to masturbate, you just go pop, 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 and it'll take care of it. And so everybody thought, okay, this is a little crazy. And so anyways, so that one night a novice gets up and she is wandering around the hallways of the convent and going down to get something at the kitchen. And so she goes by the Mother Superior's room and she hears the strangest noise. And it's... And she goes, oh! Do you get it?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that points right to the truth of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all human.
We're all human. Yeah. And I think that's what we're human and we're divine is my belief. That we're human and divine, and that we can carry Christ or whoever you believe in. You can carry that in your heart and you can be as spiritual and connected to a higher power that it just makes your humanity shine even more. And I think that's what our book is about. I really do. Carol and I were both, and I still am, and I know she is up in heaven, so close to the Lord. We had a real personal relationship. And as you read, you're going to see the miracles involved in our life and the apparitions that I have had. And it's that divinity. Yeah.
What?
It's really powerful. Are you a spiritual person?
Not so much.
Okay.
Yeah. In my ventures into that kind of stuff, it's mostly been fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you think that comes from?
Just like scary stories mostly. Like the spiritual encounters I've had has been like spooky stuff in the woods.
Oh, wow.
Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Not
a loving, kind angel.
like something that lives in the woods wants to eat me.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's where I'm at with my spirituality.
Right.
A lot of that.
Right.
So I'm like,
right.
You know,
Do you believe in a heaven or do you believe in a hell?
I don't know.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah. It's a lot of what we're going to find out.
Yeah, and there's and I think that's part of the dilemma here with the gay and the nun and the church stuff. There are some people that belong to their church that it's all about sin. It's all about you're going to hell, and they're judgmental that way. Versus myself that believes, that's between you and God. When you get to that point, and maybe at the last second of your breath, that you say, God, I'm sorry for being hateful and judgmental to people. Please accept me and I want to come home with you, God, but I think that's a big thing. People need to really think about, who do you think is going to heaven? Who do you think is going to hell? Is it just a chosen few?
Right.
You get to judge that about somebody else if they're going to hell or heaven?
Seems like that's kind of God's realm.
That's what I think too. Yeah. If you have a God, and if you don't have a God, then what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So where can we find Nun Better?
Well, I have it here in my living room that I can sell. They're $20 for a paperback, $35 for a hardcover. Or you go on to my publishers are phenomenal, twosisterswriting.com, where they can see podcasts and they can see the book trailer and they can actually order the book online. And so there's actually 60 retailers that are selling the book, Nun Better, An Amazing Love Story. Most popular are Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and people can order that directly and have it shipped right to their house. If you're a local person, I would love to sign the book for you. And in fact, I just got the date today, July 8th. St. Timothy's is hosting a discussion, questions, and answer period with me about the book. And I will also have books for sale that night and sign them. But if you want to come and hear a discussion about it and questions and answers about the book, that's July 8th, 7 o'clock, St. Timothy's in Brookings.
For Redwood Voice, I'm Sebastian Monroe.